Today you're here with Yurchenko. Kat is a friend of mine. She's taken time out of her busy day to sit down with us and talk to us. So welcome, Kat, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, you're half Panamanian, half Ukrainian. So tell us a little bit about where you come from, where you've been.
Okay, well, we are now in Panama City, but my Panamanian half is actually from the other side of the country. I'm from Chiriquí. I was born there. Half of my family is from there. My father, my mom is from Ukraine, raised during the Soviet Union, so we have like a big influence on that way also, but now Ukraine is another country, so the story has changed. I've grown up here in Panama mainly, but I've been living here and there in different periods of my time, of my life. And it's been an interesting experience to grow up in these two cultures, because at least from my mom's perspective, like being a parent of a child from another country, she really had present all the time this Ukrainian culture in me. Like she taught me to speak in Russian, like in 100%. I can write, I can read in Russian. I'm a translator now, and I don't really actually have accent while I'm speaking in Russian, as I don't have accent while I speak in Spanish. And I'm really close to my Ukrainian family. So while I live here in Panama, my main activities are here in Panama, I always have this input from both countries, from both kinds of people, which are very different actually between them. Yeah.
Okay, now I know that you work as a lawyer.
Yeah.
For a firm that specializes in intellectual property. So maybe give me an idea of what that's like for you, what your day is like working for a law firm as a lawyer in Panama.
Yeah. Well, our law firm is really non-traditional. We are a boutique law firm that focuses on intellectual property. We do some other stuff like corporate law, creating companies and stuff like that, but we mainly work with creative people. We work with entrepreneurs a lot, with artists, and with international companies that are seeking to have in Panama an office, a representative office that will manage their intellectual property portfolio, or intangible assets, as we call it also. We see everyday trademarks, patents, copyrights, and we work with many local artists such as Rolo de Sedas and others that are really productive in their industry.
And I know before you said that you spoke Russian, you obviously speak Ukrainian, you speak Spanish, you speak English. So, and I know you do some stuff on the side. So you translate, I know you translate documents, books.
Yes, I actually am a very, like they call it now, a popular term, multi-passionate person. I really like to do a lot of stuff. I have had like artistic tendencies from my early childhood. I really like to draw, to paint. I also take pictures, and I really like to write. And as I know Russian and English, I have also from the happening from life, I became a translator, because just people knew I spoke these languages, and people came to me to ask to translate a document, or to go with them to a meeting and help them with the language and stuff like that. That's how, besides being a lawyer, I also do a lot of creative freelance work. For example, right now I'm editing a book for a local writer, which is called Verde y Rebelde. It's about health, nutrition, and a healthy lifestyle. I have also translated books like poetry and technical translations like construction and chemistry, things like that. And as a photographer and a drawer, I tend to be more like an artist myself. I have had a couple of small exhibitions. I have my drawings and my creations like in my website, and I sell some prints, some postcards, and little items with my art on them. And I'm working on that like in my spare time, besides being a lawyer. And as a lawyer, it's funny how it all ended, because I was going to drop it at all. I didn't really decided by myself to study law. Like, we have this very traditional Latin American view that you have to study one serious career like medicine or law or architecture or something like that. And I ended up studying law. And well, when I was working and having my first experiences as a lawyer, I didn't really like the practice, but I knew that there was this field called intellectual property, that it's really related and close to creative people. And then I met the director, Maria Gilma Rocha, she's the director of the firm where I work, this boutique firm called AROC. And we are very close to all the creative and entrepreneurial world in Panama, and I really love it because it's a fulfilling job. Meanwhile, I'm still being a lawyer. It's very interesting.
Let's talk about the stuff you do on the side. You said you're an artist. So talk to me a little about, I mean, I've seen obviously your photos, I've seen your drawings. Let's talk about what you do, how you're able to exploit your work.
Okay. From the artistic point of view, as a drawer and painter, I have done a couple of illustrations for book covers or inside illustrations, like from the book. Like I did a poetry book where my drawings were in the cover and inside the book, like illustrating the poems of this person. Also portraits for people. We have a little project now besides of the main intellectual property focus of the law firm. We will have something like a private venture capital consultation for entrepreneurs, and I did the portraits for the coaches that will be coaching the entrepreneurs in their adventure of becoming entrepreneurs. And I've done also portraits for just people, like someone wants a portrait of their daughter or father or something like that. And that's from the drawing side. Well, also like a couple of illustrations for the newspaper, like for literary creative columns for the newspaper, and I've done illustrations for that. And from photography, I've done a couple of sessions like for portraits, but more like creative portraits, like nudes, is it right? Nudes. Like nudes for people who want them like for themselves. For example, this girl who is very young and she's thinking ahead, like when she will be older, and she wants to have this memory of her body. And she trusted me enough to make a very beautiful and nice nude session for her, so she can have these pictures for her. And also, for example, for a local writer, poet, a very good poet from Panama called Salvador Medina Barahona, I made a small nude session for his book. He was relaunching one of his books that won a local literature prize, and I made the picture of the cover of his book, which is also a nude picture, and in a very tasteful, creative way, using the photography and creative skills I may have where I was born with.
Now, you're on both ends of the spectrum because you're working as a lawyer and then you're also a freelancer.
Yeah.
And I am one of the types of people that think there's a lot of opportunity in Panama to do absolutely whatever you want. Yes. So you're, like I said, you're both ends of the spectrum. You're working as a lawyer and as a freelancer. So what sort of advice would you give for somebody that wants to come here and create something creative, or be a freelancer, whether it's photography and drawing or painting or whatever it may be?
I think that Panama is really a hub of commerce, an international hub for commerce and for economy. And all those companies that come here, like the trademarks, the big trademarks, and also the entrepreneurs, also the not so big trademarks or companies, but the companies that have interesting or specific amount of activity in commerce and are not from creative industry. All they have creative industry needs. All of those companies need graphic designers, photographers, or creative people in general for the different purposes, for merchandising or marketing or publicity, and they have to hire these people. That's mainly why I think that Panama there is a lot of opportunity for creative people to come to present their work, what they can do, their portfolios, and everything. We have really, I think, a very open spectrum of opportunities here. Not only for creative people, but I'm speaking about them because I'm more involved with that work.
And have you, let's go back to your roots. You're half Ukrainian, half Panamanian. Have you ever experienced whether it was actually happening, or maybe you just felt that way internally, that somebody may have been discriminating against you because you weren't, you know, full Panamanian, or you were from outside? Have you experienced that sort of sentiment?
No, thankfully not at all, because there is actually, we Panamanians tend to say this thing that there is no such thing as a real or pure Panamanian, because we are a very big mixture of different races. We have had here Spanish people, people from Colombia, people from Netherlands, people from any country in the world, actually Chinese people. There is a big mixture of races here in Panama, of ethnicities, of nationalities, and it has never stopped to being mixed. Like, we always have a very big flow of foreigners from different parts of the world, people who are just passing or traveling from in Panama, but also people who decide to stay here, who decide to form a family, or Panamanians who go abroad and bring back a spouse from another country, like the case of my parents. There is no such thing as discrimination here, I think. Of course, there are isolated cases of maybe some xenophobic comments from somebody, but it's not the main way of behaving of a Panamanian towards a foreigner or a mixed Panamanian as me.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here, I've never experienced anything like that. I've read certain comments here and there that people make, but as far as actual experience, it's never happened to me either. So let's go to the other side of things. Let's say in the Ukraine, when you go home to the Ukraine to visit, do Ukrainian people or Russian people, do you feel like they ever look at you differently because you're half Panamanian?
Not really. They usually tend to think that I'm a little too tan, because for them I'm actually dark skin color, because they are very white there. But until I tell them the story, they don't really notice that I'm from another side. And actually, when they do learn that I'm half Panamanian, half Ukrainian, both Ukrainians and Panamanians, they tend to find that amusing and interesting and start asking questions like how did you grow up and what it was like to be like that, but nothing negative, never.
Okay, and with your job working for the law firm, I imagine you guys see a lot of foreigners opening businesses.
Yeah.
And how do you feel Panamanians feel about foreigners opening businesses here?
Well, it's different from, there are a lot of different perspectives for Panamanians from that point of view. Some people are really happy because of that, because when a foreigner comes and opens a real company and starts to have an economic activity in this country that creates job places, so Panamanians can work there. Because not really everybody wants to be an entrepreneur or open their own company. Many people are just looking for a decent job, a decent way to earn a living, to have a specific schedule and have a calm, tranquil life. And when the economy is active, when we have Panamanians and foreigners opening companies and jobs are created, I think that the overall population is somehow happy with that if there is work for them. Of course, there will be unhappy people because of the competence, because maybe foreigners in different fields or industries bring another experiences, bring other knowledge that Panamanians maybe don't have. But I really think that deep down there is no significant resentment for that, and like from my own perspective, I think that's only positive, because that will increase the average standard of the quality of Panamanian companies, services, products, and everything in general. I have also seen how Panamanians are learning to be like more creative in their different industries, thanks to this competition from other people from other countries. So I think in general it's positive. Of course, it's not like everybody is with open arms and happy because we have this competition now, but I think it's positive, and in general we don't have like strange, how would I say that? We don't have like these fierce negative reactions towards that. Maybe some comments here and there, but nothing really serious.
And in your line of work at the law firm, with people opening businesses or trying to protect intellectual property, just give me an idea of the foreigners that you work with. Like, where do they come from? I mean, do you guys have a certain group or groups that come from certain countries that you seem to notice, or?
Well, in Panama there's a big flow of Colombians and Venezuelans, but from United States there's also a big amount of people opening different kind of companies. We have different creative industry trademarks, like also artists or graphic designers, for example. From abroad, we have also had projects from Holland, from the Netherlands, sorry, on the media and marketing industry. We don't have so many, like, for example, Chinese or Russian people, but Americans, there's a lot of Americans, I think, and some interesting amount of people from Europe. But mainly in Panama, the migration and the new companies that are open every day, I think they mainly come from Venezuela, I think.
Okay, so you work for a law firm that protects intellectual property. And that here in Panama is something that's fairly new to me. I've only know of 2 firms that do that. I know before you said you guys were a boutique firm. So let's ask a scenario. Let's say somebody comes down here and they want to create a brand or a trademark, or maybe write a book. Kind of explain to me what sort of process they have to go through, what sort of benefits they can actually hope to achieve by working with an intellectual property lawyer.
Well, there are many benefits. The first or main one of them is that when you register your creations, your ideas, through the legal tools that intellectual property gives you, you become like the legal owner of your idea. Just as you can be the owner or have the title of your house or your car, you can have a title for your book, for your music, for the concept of your project, or for your trademark, or even for an invention that you create through a patent. Panama is a signatory of the most important treaties worldwide. Specifically from the firm where I work, we attend every annual INTA conference, which is a very old and big conference that reunites all the intellectual property lawyers from all the world. And it's been created like a network of these lawyers or firms that work with intellectual property. Specifically for the region, I think, like for Latin America, it's very good or convenient for a creative person to register in Panama their ideas, be it through works of art, copyrights, or trademarks and patents, in order to create a strategy of growth. We work a lot with entrepreneurs who are like born in Panama and are starting to create their business in Panama, but they are looking abroad. They want to sell later in United States, in other countries of Latin America. And as Panama has become this kind of a hub of commerce or economy for the region, it's a very interesting and convenient place to start your business and to start to protect the intellectual property of your business, be it the trademark or copyrights. Specifically from the industrial property point of view, which includes trademarks, patent, and other assets. The international treaties that we have up to date create titles for these assets in a regional basis. For example, if you register a trademark in Panama, that title will be valid only in Panama. But there are some priority times that we call, that, like, for example, for a period of 12 months after your registration or application for a trademark in Panama, you can make an application for another country or another countries. It doesn't matter, and you will, in the end, the title that we will get in those other countries will have the date of application of the Panamanian application, for example. And we work very close to entrepreneurs in this way, like not just registering for them and giving them a paper and goodbye, but we work with them like from a strategic point of view of an advisor. Like we get in touch very close with their projects, we learn of their objectives or how they're planning to grow. And we plan accordingly to that what titles or what legal procedures would be the best for them, like for the plans they have for the future. Many of them are planning just to have their business in Panama, but some of them want to go abroad also. And depending on what country they are planning to expand, we also start like advising and working on how to expand these rights of intellectual property they have, be it copyright or trademarks or patents.
And I know I'm jumping around a lot,
okay.
back and forth, so let's go back to art. I love art.
I love art too.
So what is your most favorite thing to do? I mean, I know you take photos, I know you draw, I know you can paint. What is your most favorite artistic thing to do?
I think it's visual arts in general, and I tend to have my photography periods and my drawing periods. The writing is always there. I always write, be it for freelance work or for myself, but sometimes I'm more dedicated to drawing and to painting, and sometimes more to photography. It's like different in that way, I think.
And today, what is your most favorite piece that you created?
Probably the Panamanian cutarras. It's a very simple, small drawing, but it really represents somehow Panama and Latin America in general, because the Panamanian people in countries specifically, the ones that work with animals and agriculture, cows and stuff like that, they tend not to be very rich. They use very simple clothing that you can see in a more beautiful way through the Panamanian folkloric costumes, like the montuno costume for a man or the pollera for the woman. But they also use this interesting piece of, I don't know, we call it cutarra. Cutarra is the name like of the kind of shoe they use, but it's not really a shoe. It's like a piece of fabric and sorry, how do you say cuero in English?
Leather.
And leather from those animals with whom they work, and they create this simple use. I don't know. Is there a generic word for shoe, but not shoe, like something?
Like maybe a sandal or... Like
a sandal, yes. They have this sandal that they create with leather from the country, from their place where they work. And they use that themselves, and they can use that piece of leather, that cutarra, like for years. Many people here in the city buy cutarras just to have something like stylish and Panamanian and use it here or there and a couple of times and that's it. But these people really have their cutarras and use them for years. As it is leather, you know that leather tends to change its form and color depending on the use that you give it. So a very used and old cutarra has like a life and a story. It represents all the time and all the work that this person had and lived while they were in the country working in their fields or with their cows or anything. And I made a simple graphite drawing of a couple of cutarras, but a couple of used cutarras. And you can see all the bands and all the little things that these sandals get from the work of the person who used them. For me, it's like the most representative of Panamanian culture drawing I have made until now.
And you are a young woman that lives in Panama City. So maybe explain to us if you ever feel threatened, or what it feels like to live in an apartment by yourself, or to have to go run errands at night or do anything by yourself. I mean, do you ever feel threatened? I mean, I think I know the answer, but do you ever feel threatened walking or?
Well, you have to be careful in Panama. It's not a dangerous country. It's not, for example, these are sad examples, but it's not like Mexico DF or Caracas. But you have to have also some amount of common sense. You won't be walking like by yourself and thinking of, I don't know, dreams or anything while in a dark street. You of course have to pay attention around you and take care of yourself, but it's not really a dangerous country. You can go everywhere you want. Just to have a decent amount of common sense will help always. But also bad things have happened in Panama as in any country, so that's why someone has to take care of them. Being a woman or a man, I don't really feel that in Panama there's a big difference between the dangers could be for a woman or a man. I think
Absolutely.
Everybody have to take care.
And some of the questions we ask all our interviewees is, what sort of bills do you have? Like your electrical bill, what's the most expensive, or what do you pay typically every month for your electrical bill, and what's maybe the most expensive bill you've ever paid?
My most expensive bill is my rent, of course.
Right.
Besides rent, nothing, I think, but I'm not really an expensive person, so again, for example, I don't use beauty salons or things like that, but other women would give you more interesting information.
But specifically,
specifically rent is my biggest bill, yes.
But specifically like your electrical bill, because a lot of people, they want to know what electricity costs, or internet and phone.
Well, I don't really know how much would cost electricity for a person who consumes a lot of electricity, but I can tell you that I have a normal use of electricity. I mean, by night I turn on the lights in the room where I am working, be it the living room or my bedroom. I use different appliances at home also, and like I have a fridge and like everything that a normal person has. And our bill in the apartment is like it's always like $20 or $30 a month. We have internet, everything, and it's not. I don't find it really expensive. I know there are people complaining in Panama about very expensive electrical bills, but I think that really depends on how to use your electricity. For example, maybe for foreigners this would be important, like to have air conditioning. I don't really need it because in my apartment, thankfully, we have a big wind flow. Mm-hmm. But depending on where your house or apartment is, you probably don't really have. It's not really windy, so you will have to buy an air conditioner. I know that in Panama, what increases the most an electrical bill is using air conditioners.
Kat, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, so thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.